Hello, everyone. I hope I am audible because after the problem with the last video, I am now very cautious about it. In any case, uh, today we'll be talking about one of my very favorite topics. This topic is very baffling for many students. That is how to write a newspaper report. Most students make certain cardinal mistakes, and because of these cardinal mistakes they really do not understand that how important it is to structure your newspaper report properly so that you may address the issue in the correct light. All right, so that is a big problem. You need to first understand the rudiments of addressing your report. Okay, so let me quickly share the screen and let us begin. One second, where did it go? I found it. So today we will be dealing with how to write a newspaper report, and this will be a very thorough step-by-step guide where we'll be dealing with the structure of a newspaper report, how to address a newspaper report, how to go about it, certain examples, and so on and so forth. Although I have not given many examples or very in-depth examples because newspaper is something which is very readily available. All right. So let us begin. So, first thing that we need to understand is writing a newspaper report involves covering an event or a story with accuracy, clarity, and brevity. These are the three fundamental. You need to be accurate, you need to be clear, you need to be brief. Without these three pillars, a newspaper report cannot quite stand. These are the tripods, so as to say, of a newspaper report. Now, we will be dealing with a step by step process to create a well structured newspaper report. So, let us look at the essentials of a newspaper report. The first thing that we need to deal with is the nature of the report. All right. If you have seen a newspaper, then you know a certain detail of the newspaper. That is, the first page of the newspaper, you will see that it is divided into columns. Okay, and those columns are very, very important. Just one second, I'll show you a newspaper so that we can discuss this in a little detail. All right, just one second. So, look, this is a newspaper. Wait, let me stop sharing the screen so that we can look at the newspaper properly. So, this is today's newspaper, okay? Now, look at this newspaper, look at the structure. The first page, this contains an advertisement. Okay, this is called a jacket. Okay, this is called a jacket. This, the title of the newspaper, this is called the masthead. And these two news articles on the two corners, they are called the earpieces. Just like your head has two ears, so these are called earpieces. Okay, this is a Bengali vernacular newspaper, but this is the one that I could find. So let us first look at the first page. If I show you the first page, that kind of gives you a very clear cut picture. So look, the first page deals with news which is the most important. So, this news, which is covering most of the body of the paper, most of the uh, upper half of the paper, this is the most important news of the paper. This is an advertisement. This is the second important one. This is the third important one. Uh, this is the fourth important one. So these are all politically relevant newses. Okay. And here you have small blurbs. Okay. Here you have small blurbs That is news which is very important, but due to lack of space, you cannot accommodate them on the first page. So what happens is you will see that they are given in the in page 6, page 7, or something like that. A small detail is given over here, and this story, which is a story about a bird, this is a story which is a feel good story. Okay, so after reading so many politically charged stories, you are basically now baffled about the political condition of your state, your country, and so on and so forth. So the newspaper kind of gives you a basic idea, that is your state's political condition, your country's political condition is in absolute haywire, and now you are panicking. So what happens is that they need to give you a feel good story. It is like a filler. Okay, this is called the anchor story, the one about the bird. So this is the structure of the first page of the newspaper. Now every single page has such a structure. Like page 3 deals with Bollywood, etc., the movie industry, and so on and so forth. Now, since every page has a certain structure, now let me share my PPT once again so that we understand. So we have to first of all be very careful about the nature of our report. That is, what is our report about? What is our report covering? Is it political? Is it about an accident? Like recently, a mall caught fire. Today, a mall caught fire. Uh, the Acropolis Mall in Kolkata, it caught fire. So this is 14th June 2024. The mall caught fire, and many hapless souls are stuck. They were stuck, at least the last time I checked. So their predicament hangs in the balance. Next thing is that you need to give a correspondent. That is, there are usually two kinds of correspondents. Normally, what happens is that when a news of, say, local or regional importance is covered, it is usually done by a staff reporter. Okay. But when an international news comes up, say for example, if tomorrow the President of America is visiting India for a special summit with India and other SAARC countries, then obviously any Tom, Dick, and Harry would not be allowed inside that important podium, right? Excuse me. So for such events, every news house has a special correspondent. Okay, so that special correspondent is the person who looks after such events of grand importance. So whenever you are writing a report, underneath the title on the right hand side, okay, under the title on the right hand side, you must mention by a staff reporter or by a special correspondent. Okay, now we come to the title or the headline. That is, every news story must have a title or a headline. Say, leading Kolkata Mall catches fire, or leading Kolkata Mall under flames. This would be a very significant title, which basically represents the gravity of the situation in all of its propriety. Then you have place or date. Just underline the headline. On the left hand side, first you give the place, that is either Kolkata, New Delhi, wherever it is, and then the date, that is 14th June 2024 or the 25th May 2024, whatever the date is. And then you have the inverted pyramid. What is the inverted pyramid? It talks about the structure of a news report, which I'll show in the later slides. Okay. Now, look, what does a news report talk about? A news report asks questions and a news report answers those questions. Okay. So, what are the questions that we ask in a news? We ask six questions. 5W, five questions beginning with W. and one question beginning with H. So who, where, what, when, why. Not necessarily in that order, but we ask these questions: who, what, where, when, why. And the one H is how. So who did it? Where did it happen? When did it happen? What happened? And why did it happen? So these are the first five questions. And finally, how did it happen? So this is the basic line of questioning that a newspaper report does. Now, this structure is very important. This is the newspaper report structure. It is popularly known as the inverted pyramid structure. Now, look, first comes the base of the pyramid, that is the lead. That is what is most important. Which part of the story is most important? That is, who did the act, what happened, where did it happen, when did it happen, why did it happen, and how did it happen. Now, out of all these six questions, you must answer two or three over here. On top of this, you have the title. On the right hand side, if you follow my cursor, you'll have by a special correspondent or by a staff reporter. On the left hand side, you will have place and date, and then the story begins. So the lead, which is the most important paragraph, or you can make it one or two paragraphs, you can basically break it up. You can add a hook, that is a provocative quote or a question, and it should not exceed, it should approximately be around 30 words, but it should not exceed 70, 80 words. Okay, or ideally it should not exceed 50 words, because a book is not it should not be really large. Okay, why? I'll give you the answer a little while later. First, let me explain this picture, then I'll explain everything. Now, the body, it comes from the third paragraph onwards or the second paragraph onwards. It is the basic idea, that is the crucial information. That is, if you have answered, say, two of the six questions in your lead, you will answer the rest of the four in the body. Okay, so that's the thing. So the body is very, it usually becomes a bit bulky. Okay, so you will have to pay attention to how you write about the body of the answer, the body of the news report. So that is very, very important, you see. Now, in the body, what happens is you are putting all the arguments, you are putting all the controversies, you are putting all the details, the story, the issue, everything. That is, you will have to make it covered every single aspect of the report itself. Okay, so what happens is that you must give the proper evidence, you must give the proper background, you must give the proper details, the proper logic. So basically it should be all encompassing. Okay, now finally comes the tail. The tail is the least important part of the report. That is, it provides, say, a witness report. Say what the local politician said, what the police said, what the fire brigade said, and what not. So these are interesting things. These are related items. These are the extra contents, but these are really not the report itself. That is, this is not really the event itself. Okay, these are assorted material. Now, why do we divide it like this? Acha, when you are writing, please do not make your report like this. This is just a structure. You are supposed to write in proper paragraphs only, just like you write an essay. Do not make such a structure and write on it. Now, imagine if your after your title, your place and date, your correspondent, what happens is, imagine I am a very busy man. Okay. Now in the morning, I have 5 minutes. I need to know what is happening around me. So what do? I read only the title, that okay, this and this and that and that and that happened. And I leave the newspaper and I maybe keep it for my travel time. While I'm traveling, I have maybe marked out two or three news items which I'll read completely, and maybe five more news items which I'll brush through. So for this brush through, I'll read the lead. Now, when the lead is done, I'll then go into the body. So the lead must be self-sufficient in such a way that it gives us a hint. Just like we say, the morning shows the day. Similarly, the lead shows the news. Okay. Now then we have to come to the body. If I have time, I am reading the body. Now the tail is not for us to decide, it is for the editorial team to decide. Imagine if I have this much space and I can accommodate maybe 150 words. And there is a guy who has written a report of 300 words. What I'll do is I'll start cropping up because I'll have to fit it in 150 words. So I'll start cropping it up. Now, if I do not put the most important events within the first 150 words of the report, it will be cut out, right? So what happens is the lead must be as precise, as brief as possible. Then the body should not contain any jargon, not any detailed explanations and all. Just the bare minimum that is needed for a clear cut addressing and a clear cut understanding of the report. The rest of it falls within the tail. So if the editorial team cuts it out, we really do not lose information about the event. We lose the interesting or related items, the extra content. Now, that way, we really do not miss out on what is happening. So, look, if I bear it down to the very basics, the lead is the most important, then the very important stuff, then the important stuff, then the not important stuff, then the boring stuff, then the dull stuff, then the stuff which is zero or not necessary. Okay, so look, again the same thing. Heading, the text printed in large letters that grabs the attention of the reader. Then we have the lead, the most important part of the story that gives the key takeaways. Then we have the nut graph. The nut graph is basically, it usually happens in larger news houses. That is, they give a nut graph. The nut graph basically builds up the story. It creates a context, a background to the story, and it sets the mood and the tone in which the story will go and grow. Imagine I am working in a news house which is a little bit biased towards the opposition party. So the nut graph will show how I am looking at the same news. And say if I am working in a news house which is pro the ruling party, then my nut graph will show what is going on. That is how my news will go on. Then we have the copy, which is the main body or the article that contains the text, the visuals, the data, because often news reports contain a picture. And finally, we have the kicker, just like they say kick. So if it is unneeded, it will be kicked away. The last point in the news article, which is like a conclusion. So, how the editorial cutting is done? From bottom to top. So the main facts, more detail, quotations, more detail, quotation, additional comment, optional bio. So if the editor has to first cut off, he'll cut the optional bio, then the additional comment, then the quote, then the more detail, then the quote, then the more detail, and he will keep the main facts if necessary, because 10,000 things are happening and the newspaper is not, it does not really have infinite space. So all news houses have to choose between which news items to keep and which to reject. Okay, so this is the structural aspect of the news report, which I think all of you should know. And you see, most people really do not have a clue about the structural aspect of the news report. Okay. Most people can tell you how to write a news report, but without giving you a clear cut idea of the structural aspect. And with that, what happens is a student often writes a news report of, say, 1000 words. I mean, it rarely happens that a news report is that important that it should have 1000 words. Okay. Mostly what you are given, say, a boat capsize. A boat capsize is nearly not that important nationally or internationally to have the span of 1000 words, right? But if you know the structure of a news report, you will confine yourself to 300 words, maybe, which is a very reasonable size of a report. So, now we come to certain key tips and tricks on how to write a news report. First thing is research. You need to research the story very thoroughly. That is, you need to gather all your facts and details properly. You have to ensure that your sources are reliable. You have to verify the information, take notes on the important aspects such as uh, who told you, who did it, what happened, where did it happen, when did it happen, why did it happen, and how did it happen. So you have to be very clear about these aspects. Okay. Next, you create an outline of the story. What does your outline contain? Basic sections like your headline, your byline. If you are giving a colon and giving a byline, then it must contain that. Then you must give a lead paragraph, which is very important. Then comes your body, and finally comes your conclusion. So you have to prepare a structure, just like an essay, you have to prepare a structure. Without a structure, you cannot really hope to write a proper newspaper report. Next is that your headline should be very concise, very catchy. It has to grab the attention of the readers. It has to be non-offensive. It should not be very politically colored. It should give a clear-cut idea about the report's content. And here there is a small suggestion from my part, that is, use active voice and very proactive or strong verbs to convey the idea that you are trying to convey. Then write a byline, that is the name of the author, sometimes the date, that is the place date, by a state staff reporter or whatever. It gives credit to you and it indicates that by whom the report was written. But there are usually two types of reporters: staff reporter and special correspondent. I have already explained what is the difference between the two, so I'm not going into that anymore. Next is craft the lead paragraph. This is the most difficult part of any news report because it summarizes the main points. It is very crucial. It answers, if not all, at least two to three of the six questions of the 5W1 each very succinctly. All right. Sometimes some reporters tend to sometimes some news writers, they tend to make a point by giving all the data in a summary form in the lead, and then later they develop on that in the body. Okay. Then comes write the body. So expand on the details provided in the lead paragraph, include quotations, additional facts, background information, ensure that the information flows logically and fluently. Your language should not be very ornamental, very flowery, it should not be filled with jargon and all. It should explain to the people in a language that a person having the basic school education of, say, class 2 or 3 should understand it, and even a, say, PhD degree holder or maybe a doctor, engineer, professor can understand it simultaneously. So your language should be all inclusive. It should not be exclusive. It should not be so erudite that only the creme of the creme de la creme of the society, that is the cream people of the society, understand it. It should not be so very rustic that people feel an aversion towards it. It should be simple, to the point, and clear. Finally comes conclude the report, sum it all up. Mostly, what happens is when students write a report, they initially begin with a great flair, and somewhere midway they get lost, and they mostly forget that their story's significance depends on their analysis of the story. I'm saying the analysis, not the views. News is about objective reporting, views is your subjective thing. Nobody is asking for what is your opinion on it, but we are looking for a logical analysis of the objective event that we are all expecting. So conclude the report. Okay. Most students forget to conclude the report. So look, here is an example. So the headline is City Council approves new park project. So the byline is by John Doe, so and so. Here I have cooked it up together, but the June 10, 2024 should be on the left hand side, by John Doe should be on the right hand side. And here it originally happens so that you write by a staff reporter or by a special correspondent. Now, in such a case of City Council approving new park project, it should not contain the special correspondent, it should contain the staff reporter. So look, the lead paragraph will say something like this, that the city council has approved a new park project that will provide much needed green space for residents. So who has provided? The city council. What has been provided? New park project. When has been provided? On 10th June. Where has been provided? In the city. Why it has been provided? To give much needed green space for the residents. So look, 5W are answered. How it has been provided? That we shall see later. So the decision was made during a meeting held on Tuesday evening where council members discussed the benefits of the project. So here we are explaining the how. A conclusion that the new park project is expected to open next spring. So look, again we are giving a when, offering a variety of amenities for the community. So what does the community get? So we are answering all the questions. So here are certain tips from my end. Be objective and impartial. Use active voice and strong verbs. Keep paragraphs short and focused. Use quotes to add credibility, that is witness quotes, bystander quotes, people of authority, their quotes, and so on and so forth. And proofread. Proofread for accuracy and clarity, because without that it's impossible. So your writing should have a careful research, clear and concise writing, and a well-structured format. By doing this, you will be able to create a very informative and very engaging report. What I suggest is you pick up 10 random topics and start practicing. That way you get a clear cut idea on what you're trying to do. All right, because without practice, writing a proper newspaper report is next to impossible. All right, so these are certain suggestions from my end, and that is how, my dear friends, you write a proper newspaper report. So we will stop here with this small discussion that we had. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. Thank you so much. Have a great day.